So, in this video, I want to talk about Il Capitano, aka the Captain, the first and the strongest of the 11 Fatui Harbingers. In the past, he was one of the most mysterious Harbingers and we didn't really know much about him, so there was a ton of different theories about his real identity thrown around. Even I made a few videos where I had speculations surrounding his real identity. Well, it turned out most of us were wrong, and since his story, at least for the foreseeable future, seems over, I decided that now it would be a good time to revisit Capitano's entire story and recap everything we know about him. But as always, I have to make a quick disclaimer first. This video is just my interpretation of the lore. I unfortunately can't read the developers' minds, so I just have to use what I have, speculate about the rest and let them cook. Alright, now let's get to the lore. I want to start by talking about some stuff we know about Capitano, aka the Captain, outside of the in-game story. In the Commedia dell'arte, which is a type of Italian theatre and an inspiration for all of the Fatui Harbingers, he is known for boasting a lot about his achievements that are often made up. He often talks at length about made-up conquests and attempts to impress others who often don't buy it. He has a close relationship with Pantalone, and for example even gets hired by him to protect his daughter. The Captain often uses bravado and excessive shows of manliness to hide his true cowardly nature. This is the complete opposite of what we know of Capitano, but it seems that whoever likes to do the references to Commedia dell'arte in this way quite often, as other Harbingers have similar misleading references as well. Well, I would also like to mention his constellation before we move on to the actual story as well. From everything we've seen of him, it seems that the symbol depicting the 3 nails on the Fatui constellation wheel should be his constellation. People say that this symbol could represent his sacrifice and the endless torment he had to go through, with the curse of immortality he suffered with, and all the souls he carried onto him until the end. But more on that later. Anyway, this constellation wheel is often used by the community to speculate on future Fatui boss fights, and since it seems like Capitano won't fight us anytime soon, it fits thus far. The only problem is that this constellation wheel would imply that he would somehow someway have to fight the Traveler in the future story, which I find very unlikely considering his current state in the game, but well, maybe something crazy happens in the story, who knows. But with all of that out of the way, let's get to his actual story. So, as we all know at this point, Capitan was originally from Canria, and considering everything we know about him, he should hail from the Eclipse dynasty, which is the dynasty that came after the Crimson Moon. This means that he likely served alongside Dainsleif and at the same time as Piero. And similarly to these two, he knew of the Traveler's sibling as well, and also considered them a prince or a princess. His real name and the name he used back then was Thrain. Back then, he served in the Canrian army as a commander. Well, some of the other translations of the in-game dialogue suggest that this position may have actually been a bit more important than that, but since I'm not someone who can speak Chinese, let's just say that he was a commander. He fought many battles, fighting for the glory of Canria, and at some point in time, he obtained a new modified heart that used Canria's technology to transfer the memories and souls of the dead into knowledge. Which basically means that this way, he could get stronger with every battle he fought. Since he used his new heart to fight honorably for the people of Canria, he was given the title of Sentinel Knight. Around that time in Canria, which means about 500 years ago, the 5 geniuses of that era harnessed the power of the Abyss, which eventually triggered the Canrian Cataclysm. They later became known as the 5 Sinners of Canria. Many Canrians, including Capitano, knew nothing of this, but they still suffered nonetheless, because after the Cataclysm, Ronova cursed all the pure-blood Canrians, including Capitano, with the curse of immortality, and the ones who didn't have pure blood were cursed with the curse of the wilderness. Capitano couldn't defend his nation from the monsters of the Abyss, and had to watch his nation, family, and allies fall to the Abyss. Once he realized that this situation was unsalvageable, he decided to flee with the remains of his platoon to Natlan. After the Cataclysm, most people viewed Canrians as the source of the disaster and refused to help them. But fortunately for him, he met with the chief of the Masters of the Nightwind of that time, named Aizu, who treated him with respect. He decided that he will fight together with the people of Natlan to defeat the Abyss. He fought many battles alongside the people of Natlan, and to this day, many people know the legends about the heroes called Thrain and Gufret, who was his most trusted second in command, and a military doctor who developed the Drought of Lucidity, a medicine for the Abyssal Corrosion Syndrome. As Capitano saw many of his remaining people die before his eyes, and many Natlanese warriors as well, he knew that he had to do something. Unfortunately, the Night Kingdom couldn't accept any more souls, so he decided to put aside his heart's ability to gain knowledge, and use his heart as a vessel for all these souls instead. His goal since then was to find a way to release all of these lost souls into the ley lines, and grant them peace. At this point in time, the curse of immortality caused his body to rot much faster than someone's like Dainsley's, partially because he couldn't even sleep at all since that time, because of all the voices he constantly had to hear. These were the voices of the lost souls he carried. To hide his changed appearance, he later decided to wear a special mask that he is nowadays known for. Eventually, his friend Aizu died, but before his death, he told Capitano the secret of the pyronosis and how it can basically restore the Night Kingdom to a certain degree. We don't exactly know much about what was happening after he fought in Natlan, but he was probably trying to find a way to release all the lost souls he carried on him into the ley lines. So he traveled through many nations, until he eventually decided to join the Fatui as the first of the Fatui Harbingers. He was also given a new name, which was Il Capitano, or the Captain. We also know that after Crusabina, the previous knave, was killed by Arlecchino, he attended Arlecchino's appointment together with Scaramouche, Signora and Piero. Many years later, he attended Signora's funeral held in Stežnaja, where all the remaining Fatui Harbingers met. There, he questioned Dottore about Scaramouche and the Electronosis. A bit later, we also heard that he met with Grandmaster Varka of the Knights of Favonius. Mika, who was a part of Varka's expedition, told us that the knights ran into some Fatui members and the situation became tense. But then Capitano and Varka agreed to resolve this situation peacefully. At this point in time, we knew that Capitano was the most well-respected harbinger of the bunch, and even his trash-talking colleagues had nothing bad to say about him, and that even someone like Arlecchino was saying that he's someone worthy of respect. He was incredibly strong, to the point of having power comparable to the 7 Archons, even though his power greatly decreased since the curse has taken its effect. After the prophecy of Fontaine was avoided, Nouvelette told us that the captain has made his way to Natlan. The Fatui in Natlan were doing many experiments with phlogiston, and even captured many Saurians to experiment on them. Around the same time, there were rumors circulating around Natlan that some big deal from the Fatui has arrived, as noted for example by Ororon. His primary goal back then was to meet Citlali, probably to help him with the Night Kingdom situation and to help him communicate with the Vioc, since she is very knowledgeable about all of that. Since Capitano's original plan of looking for Citlali and the experiments didn't seem to be going well, he thought to himself that Natlan is on the verge of destruction and that he must act immediately. Eventually, he chose to confront Mavuika directly and obtain the Gnosis so that he can save Natlan and all the souls he carries onto him in the process. Unfortunately, his plan failed, and he himself recognized this battle as his loss later. After he failed to obtain the Gnosis, he has given up on it, because he chose to respect the outcome of that duel, and even wrote a letter to the Tsaritsa, asking her to relieve him of his duty to collect the Gnosis. When he was fighting Mavuika, she noticed that she felt something unusual from him, since her fist coincidentally aimed right for the place where he carried all the souls. Even Ororon sensed something weird outside of the stadium, and so he decided to help Capitano get out of there, and probably because Mavuika was unsure of what she felt, she decided that she won't stop Ororon's spell. Ororon decided to work with the captain after this. Capitano's subordinate contacted him after some time to tell him that Mavuika has been severely weakened, and that it is now the perfect time to seize the Gnosis. But Capitano refused, because he wanted to honor the outcome of the duel. After this, Capitano shared his plans and intentions with Ororon, and the two of them decided that the best way to reconstruct Natlan's ley lines was to use the source mechanism left there by the ancient dragon civilization. Mavuika, Shilounen and the Traveler decided that Capitano's plan was too dangerous and went to infiltrate the ruins where the source mechanism was hidden. Ororon activated the mechanism, but soon after that, Gufred's lost soul that Capitano was holding on to this entire time decided to possess Ororon. Capitano sensed this and stopped Gufred, but in the meantime, the Traveler already stopped the secret source mechanism. Even though the plan didn't work, this awakened the Lord of the Night. After that, a long conversation with Capitano and the others followed, where he explained to us a lot about his past and his intentions. Eventually, he said that he will offer all of his forces at his disposal to Mavuika and help her defend Natlan from the Abyss. When the Abyss attacked Natlan, Capitano and his Fatui soldiers assisted Mavuika in that fight. After everything was over, he went to visit the Lord of the Night alone, and they discussed the deal Xablanca made with Renova all those years ago. Capitano offered a better solution than Mavuika to this problem in the end, and the Lord of the Night agreed with him. In the meantime, between the battle with the Abyss and the final battle with the Traveler and Mavuika, he traveled to the Flower Feather clan and gave them the Rod of Lucidity to help the soldiers recover from the Abyssal Corrosion Syndrome. He also told the Traveler many things about his past, including the fact that Renova was the one who cursed the people of Khaenri'ah. After the final battle with Kosoitot and the Abyss was over, Renova demanded Mavuika's death for using her powers in the Cinder City, next to the Throne of Primal Fire. Lord of the Night revealed at the last moment that she must wait for another person to attend this event, and that person was revealed to be Capitano. He spoke about his resentment towards the ruler of death, but also said that Mavuika shouldn't die and that she should instead live in the future she built for her people. He decided to offer his life to the Lord of the Night and by extension Renova, instead of Mavuika, and by doing this he would transfer his life force to the Lord of the Night. But because of the curse of immortality, his death would trigger a paradox that Runova couldn't allow to happen. I talked more about this exact deal in my previous video, since it is quite complicated. Anyway, he threatened her with this possibility, and suggested that she needs to reject one of her rules. In the end, she decided to uphold the rule of the curse of immortality, and allowed him to merge his soul with the Lord of the Night, permanently preventing her from dying, and finally allowing all of the lost souls into the Night Kingdom. His body now remains sitting on the throne of the Primal Fire, unable to move, with his consciousness now in the Night Kingdom. After his sacrifice, the people of Natlan built a monument where he is celebrated among other heroes of Natlan. Interestingly, the Tsaritsa has also decided to keep his position as the first of the Fatui Harbingers. But that is the end of Capitano's story, at least for now. Well, that will be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you maybe even learned something new. There is still a lot to discuss about this new version, so I think there will be one more video about possibly the Kandrian Cataclysm soon. But with all of that said, take care and I see you in the next one.